How's it going, everybody? My name's Warner Fields with Fields of Profit. I'm a high six-figure full-time Amazon seller, and in today's video I'm going to be breaking down the FBA and FBM methods of fulfilling products to customers when you're selling on Amazon. And at the end of the video I'm going to be diving into some specific examples and showing you which items I would use FBA on and which items I would use FBM for. If you're brand new to the channel and want even more free resources to learn how to sell on Amazon, directly down below me in the description is our completely free Amazon seller Discord server. There's over 19,000 people in there sharing all kinds of great free information. Would love to see you in there, but let's go ahead and jump into the video. So first off, for any of the true beginners who are watching this video, breaking down what FBA is exactly, it just means fulfilled by Amazon. And essentially what that means is, as Amazon sellers, we can actually take our products, box it all up at once and ship it off to Amazon's fulfillment centers. That way, once the orders actually come in, Amazon is going to take care of the rest for us. So we've gone ahead, we've done all the work on the front end. That way, when a customer goes and clicks and buys your item, once that happens, Amazon is going to do that from their fulfillment center. They're going to ship it out to the customer. And a nice benefit of that is that's how you're going to be able to get that 2-day prime shipping when you're selling on Amazon. So FBA is when Amazon is going to be handling all of the order fulfillment, customer service, returns, all that kind of stuff, and we just do all the work on the front end. Whereas FBM, it means fulfilled by merchant or merchant fulfilled. You're going to hear a couple different terms for that, but that's just when we ship directly to the customers themselves. So let's say, I've got an item, I want to sell it. I can either send it into Amazon's fulfillment centers, and then once it gets all checked in, Amazon will go ahead and send it out to the customer for me as soon as it sells, or I can list it today, merchant fulfilled, and immediately start getting sales, which brings us into kind of the first pros and cons that I'm going to talk about within the FBA versus FBM debate here. So the first reason that I just briefly mentioned when you might want to use fulfilled by merchant is when you really need to get that item shipped out as fast as possible. Let's say you're expecting the prices to tank on, let's say, maybe a seasonal item, that kind of thing. If you need to immediately capture sales, doing fulfilled by merchant is going to be the way to go every single time, because one of the major downsides to doing FBA is sometimes it can take a month, maybe even more than a month, for your items to all be in stock and fully ready to go be shipped out to the customers. That's not typical. It usually doesn't take a month. Usually it's anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks or so. But even then, you got to think about the fact, can I wait 2 to 3 weeks to sell this item and then another 2 weeks to get my money back? FBA, kind of the major con, especially in my eyes, is how much slower your cash flow is going to be if you're waiting for your items to check in and all that kind of stuff, versus FBM where you can sell it that day. On the flip side of that, taking advantage of the fact that Amazon will manually pick and pack each individual order that's going out to customers can be a massive time saver for your business in the long run. And once you get to scale where you're sending 50, 100, 200, or 1,000 units a day, 10,000 units a day, whatever you're doing, it's going to be really, really difficult, and it's going to get even more increasingly difficult to be able to actually package each individual order and ship it out every single day. I know I personally there'd be no way that I would be able to do everything that I do on my Amazon business, everything for making videos for you guys. If I was out there packaging up 100 or 200 orders a day, just wouldn't be possible. But FBA makes that possible and frees up my time. Not only are they freeing up the time on the shipping process, they're also freeing up my time in terms of customer service and also managing any returns. So, let's say a customer gets their item, they don't like it. On the flip side of that, with merchant fulfilled orders, you're going to be the one who's answering every customer service message you're getting. You're going to be the one who's taking care of all those returns that are getting shipped back to you. So it will add time into your business, and you have to think about those kind of things. And really, as you start to sell a lot of things, those messages could start to really pile up. You could get several messages a day, and that can really eat into your operating time that you should be focusing on long-term tasks. And when we talk about where your inventory is actually stored with Fulfilled by Amazon, since Amazon is going to actually have all your inventory, it's going to be spread out amongst a whole bunch of different fulfillment centers, all that kind of stuff, and it's going to be difficult to actually get your items back. In the case of an emergency with your account, let's say you got suspended, hopefully that never happens to any of you guys, but if you do have any problems with your account, you get suspended, you get banned from Amazon, it's going to be tricky to get your items back. And I've heard from some people that they'll actually keep your items, so that is one thing to think about. Obviously it's a rare case, but it's just, on the pros and cons list, if you are a merchant fulfilled seller, you're going to have a lot more control of your inventory. You can use third-party logistics providers if you don't want to actually be the one picking and packing your orders. If you want to work with third-party logistics providers, some of them will actually do your merchant fulfilled shipping for you. It's going to be a little bit more expensive than if you do FBA, so you have to make sure the unit economics work out there. But really the main benefit of doing FBA versus FBM is simply you're going to see more sales when you are an FBA seller. The way that the buy box works on Amazon heavily favors sellers who have faster shipping times, and it's just natural that if you're an FBA seller, you're getting that 2-day prime shipping. That's going to mean almost every time you're going to be faster delivering delivery time than those FBM sellers who, even if they're quick, they're still going to take 3 to 5 business days to ship directly from them to the customer. And that's going to have a heavy influence on the way the buy box works on Amazon, which is essentially the algorithm that decides how all the sales are divided up on a particular listing. Usually the sales are going to go to the sellers on a listing who are both fulfilled by Amazon and are within a couple percentage points of that buy box price. If you are a merchant fulfilled seller, sometimes you might have some significant difficulty getting buy box rotation. And this is the last thing I'll go ahead and break down here before we go ahead and jump into some specific examples showing you which ones I would do FBA on, which ones I would do FBM on. But the last reason that you might want to consider doing merchant fulfilling over FBA is that it's obviously not going to be free for Amazon to do all this work for us, right? There's going to be FBA fees that you have to think about. You're not going to have those fees with merchant fulfilling. With merchant fulfilling, it's just a flat percentage rate that they're going to take out of every sale, whereas with FBA, it can vary a lot depending on how heavy the item is, depending on a lot of factors. That pick and pack fee can really change a lot from item to item. So that's definitely one thing to think about. And there's also going to be fees for Amazon storing that inventory in their fulfillment centers, and that can really get expensive during Q4 especially. During the rest of the year, it's really not that bad. Think from January to October or so. But then once we get into the holiday season, those rates go up by over triple. They get really, really expensive. So if you are holding a bunch of inventory in FBA warehouses during Q4, you're going to want to make sure it's really selling pretty quick, which hopefully you won't have a lot of trouble with during Christmas time where everyone's buying everything in the world. But if you happen to be stuck with a bunch of inventory at Amazon during Q4, those storage fulfillment fees can really add up. So from looking at the pros and cons of doing each fulfillment method, hopefully you've learned something. Just to tell you where I'm at in my business, I do probably 98% fulfilled by Amazon during the entire year, except for during Q4, meaning the holiday season, where I do a significant amount of merchant fulfilling. That's because of one of those things we talked about earlier, where the buy box is going to favor the sellers who have the fastest shipping time. And in a world where during Christmas, when everything's selling super, super fast, there's going to come a time on a lot of items where the FBA sellers are all on back order, meaning their products are all somewhere between their house or their warehouse and the final destination that Amazon has in store for them, which means they're not going to have that 2-day shipping, which means therefore a lot of merchant fulfilled sellers are actually going to be the fastest shippers versus those FBA sellers that are still going to be transferring between warehouses there for a week or two. And for you brand new sellers, I would highly encourage you to jump in with FBA. I would call FBM a little bit more of some advanced tactics, especially if you want to do it at scale. Using FBM is a little bit more difficult. There's going to be a little bit more on the line for you to make sure that you're doing everything properly, making sure you're following terms of service. There's a couple mistakes that you could make as a new seller. I would highly recommend you just jump in with Fulfilled by Amazon as a brand new seller. So now that we've talked about that, let's go ahead and jump into my computer over here. I've got 5 products picked out, and I'm going to show you some specific lessons we can look at when we're deciding whether or not we want to do FBA or FBM. So the first example I have pulled up here is this little Peeps kind of seasonal toy, and seasonals is one specific example of a great product that you might want to merchant fulfill. So looking down here at the Keepa chart, if you are brand new to selling on Amazon and you need a Keepa tutorial, that's going to be on my channel. This is not a full Keepa tutorial, but I just want to show you, like, look at this graph here. Let's say we found this product. Let's say it came up on our systems on March 28th, right? Seems like a great product. We're just flipping these little 2-pack of these little guys here, a couple Peeps. We're selling that for 30 bucks. I bet that's going to be pretty profitable. But one thing we have to think about here is the lead time when you're doing FBA shipping. So let's say we found this product. We're like, oh, this is a profitable product, but it's March 28th. I'm not going to have time to ship that product to my house, ship it off to Amazon's warehouses, let them shuffle it all around. By the time that comes, it's going to be too late. Like, I'm filming this the day after Easter. If I had shipped this in on the March 28th, there's no way I was going to be able to get any FBA sales on this, especially if I was buying it on March 28th in the example of the story we've got here. So if you have a seasonal type item like this, where we're looking at it, it's a great item. This is going to be a great example of something you'd want to merchant fulfill. And specifically in this case, I wouldn't recommend this, especially if you're buying at volume and you really care about the accounts you're buying your inventory from. But if you're a brand new seller and you're super tight on funds, let's say you saw this item, it's selling for 30 bucks. It makes it profitable merchant fulfilling, but you can see how fast the price ended up tanking here. Let's say it gets down to April. Now it's selling for 20 bucks. You're not profitable. You're a new seller. You're like, oh man, I'm going to lose my money. This could be something that you could return to the store. Again, I don't do this personally. I would only recommend that if you're tight on capital. But when we do FBM, we do have that extra element of control of our inventory, and that would allow us to return something like this if we absolutely have to, if we absolutely need to get that money back on something that we might end up losing money on. So this second example here is also an example of a product that I might go ahead and merchant fulfill. Obviously, in this case, don't sell this product at all because it does have an IP alert on here, which is informing us that this brand might cause some IP complaints for us. But one thing I noticed on this Keepa chart down here is that if we scroll on the buy box line on the Keepa chart down here, we can see who was actually controlling the buy box box. You can see most of the time it's a third-party seller, but we can not only see the price and that it was sold by a third-party seller, but we can also see if the buy box is being given to an FBA or an FBM seller. So you can see here as I'm scrolling, recently it looks like it's been a lot of FBA, which means we'd probably want to FBA this one. But if we look at the past history of this item, we can see how much this item really gave the buy box to merchant fulfilled sellers. And if we can get the sales as merchant fulfilled sellers, and especially if it's just as profitable as doing FBA, you have to think about, well, I'm not going to have to wait the 2 to 4 weeks for those items to go in stock. I can sell them today, immediately get my money. Now, the problem with that, especially on items like this that are cheaper, is that sometimes the merchant fulfilled shipping can actually be way more expensive than the fees you would have paid on an FBA item, which is interesting. You know, we ship it twice and it ends up being cheaper with FBA sometimes, but that's one thing to think about in this case. But if you look at an item here and you're super happy with selling it, let's say you're super happy with selling this item at $14.85 merchant fulfilled, you're looking at this price chart here back in mid-March and you're seeing how often the buy box is being given to merchant fulfilled sellers. This could be a great item to hop on as a merchant fulfilled seller and really start to get some sales and not have to wait for that lead time of sending that stuff into Amazon. On the flip side of that, I did want to go ahead and show you guys this item here, where if we did try to merchant fulfill this item, as I'm scrolling along this chart here, I'm just seeing a ton of FBA. Like, I'm already through April. Let's see if we can get through March. Like, I don't think a merchant fulfilled seller has had the buy box on this item maybe ever, since right here is the first time I could see it, where on February, like early February, somebody who is a merchant fulfilled seller had the buy box here. So if you're a merchant fulfilled seller on this item, there's a good shot you're really not going to sell anything. So if you see an item like this and you see, especially on the Keepa chart here, that the buy box is being given to only FBA sellers, there's almost zero shot you're going to be able to sell this item as a merchant fulfilled seller. So that would be a major indicator to me that we would have to FBA this item. And showing off another example of that principle here, I went ahead and pulled up this multicolor, not really sure what this toy is honestly, but as we scroll along the buy box line here on Keepa, we can see just how often the sales are given to these FBA sellers. So this would be another product where I would pretty much have no choice but to do FBA on this item. Just out of curiosity, I haven't done this, but yeah, so you can see, since it's a toy, you know, right now it's in April, it's not really peak season for toys, but last Christmas, when things were really selling really fast, these FBA sellers were on back order, like I talked about, or maybe there weren't even any FBA sellers at all, or if there were FBA sellers, they probably got their stock in and immediately sold out. So if you see an item like this, especially during Christmas time, where the item is just selling like hotcakes, the sales rank just absolutely plummeted, which is, you know, it's a good thing that sales ranks are dropping in this case. And we can see how much that the buy box is actually being given to FBM sellers here. If we had bought this item back in November or October, this would have been a home run FBM product, but nowadays it looks like they're really not giving the buy box to FBM sellers, so we'd have no choice but to FBA this item. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and got a ton of value out of it. If you did, please feel free to add some value to my business and hit that subscribe button down below. I really appreciate that. If you guys have any questions, comments, anything like that, feel free to drop those down below. I'm always happy to answer those, but I really appreciate you guys watching and I will see you next time.